The usage of energy-efficient cook stoves, and later in the news, find out what the country's lawmakers make of the cost of basic commodities in the local markets. In the internationals, U.S. braces up for the historic inauguration of Joe Biden as president, ending Donald Trump's reign. While these and other stories coming ahead in this hour, I'm your presenter, Uminjai. Many thanks for joining GRTS News with me, Uminjai. And to begin with, it has been 4 years since His Excellency President Adama Barrow was sworn in the Gambian embassy in Dhaka as the third president of the Gambia. And in a look back at his presidency, GRTS assesses some of the achievements made under the youth and sports sector. Among the youth empowerment initiatives by the government include the Youth Loan Revolving Fund, which was launched during the just-ended Meet the People tour, and the construction of mini stadiums to boost the country's sports infrastructure. One of those projects was the Biam Mini Stadium, which was launched by President Barrow. Details in this report by MS Jallo.
This is the President, His Excellency Adama Barrow, arriving at the Biam football field on the invitation of his sports minister to launch the Biam Mini Stadium project, and the Gambian leader graciously laid the foundation stone for the construction of a multi-million-dollar sports facility for the youths of Fonyi Kansala district. The Biam Mini Stadium project is part of a nationwide sports infrastructural development initiative by the Ministry of Youth and Sports, which has been on the move to build standard sporting facilities across the country.
This is a long process, something that this community has been yearning for many years, because this football field historically was developed by the Child Fund. Now they call it the Fonyi Dinding, which is a combination of Indian Bantaba and Eastern Fonyi. They developed it many years ago. Then it had no fence and no facility at all. But with time, the Child Fund invested money into fencing it, and as you see right now.
President Barrow, after laying the foundation stone, commended the Sports Ministry for striving towards promoting sports by building proper structures across the country.
I thank everybody. Thank the Youth and Sports Ministry. Since we came to power 2017, we are looking for funds. How do we have funds? How can we be innovative enough to create something for the youth? We tried until finally we agreed to get at least 5% from the GSM companies. So with that fund, it is all meant for youth. It's not just about football. It's about sports. It's about youth matters. The funding is Gambian fund. It's coming from Gambian people, from the Gambian population.
The project is funded by the government of the Gambia at a tune of $7.1 million for the first phase, which will have a grass pitch, a borehole, dressing rooms, and a perimeter fence. The contract is awarded to Kairasu Builders, who are expected to deliver within 6 months.
The young people of Fonyi have been for years looking for means to improve it, because the whole of Fonyi has not had any standard football field. So that's why we are grateful that under your leadership, we are able to actualize this project, and it cost at the tune of $7.1 million, and the work is going to take about 6 months, and the facilities will be improving the entire facility, putting up, increasing the fence, and they're going to put up a new borehole, and change rooms. We're going to have 2 change rooms, so 2 teams, and as well as a change room for the referee, the officials.
The Biam project has now put the total number of mini stadiums being constructed around the country to 6. This is the level of works on the Manduar Mini Stadium, the first project that was launched a few months ago. The construction of the 6 mini stadiums, when completed, is expected to significantly boost mass participation in sports in the beneficiary communities. Mohamed Jala, GRT Sports.
And let's stay with some sports matters because GRTS spoke to the President's Youth Advisor, Honorable Sekumbalo, on the progress registered in empowering Gambian youths. Here's part of that interview.
Some of the major development projects rolled out by the government to empower Gambian youths since 2017.
Thank you very much for inviting me at your studio. Um, as you may have followed through the media, that this government, leadership of His Excellency President Adama Barrow, the government is embarked on a youth-led institutional reform and capacity strengthening. And that being the case, the government has started building stadiums throughout the country, at least to decentralize the sports sector for the youth, and that is very important. That has never happened here in this country. We all know how many stadiums we had prior to this government. We had only independent stadium, and that's it. Now this government thinking about youth, thinking about training of the youth, so that there would be better skills in sports. They embark on building these stadiums throughout the country. And it has already been commenced from Buyam to Flabantang, other areas also.
Okay.
This is what the government is doing right now.
Okay, now let's talk business. There has been the call for young people to recruit the informal sector, but that has still not materialized. Now, what is responsible for this?
What I can tell you is the lack of the project roll out government for them to tap from hence the need for sensitization activities with view of enlightening them. That is the cause. Now that's why we have started. The government is starting in sensitization process, and it has already announced a disbursement, a loan scheme to the youth, and they will be sensitized so that they can come forward. This is for them. They are training, skills trainings, and other things.
Okay, now what are the plans to create more employment opportunities for youths in the country?
Well, I mean, looking at right now, looking at what the government is engaged in, building of these stadiums is one thing, and not only that, through this 2.8 million that I have just said, these are the things that I think will not totally address the unemployment problem in the youth sector, but at least it will do better. And I can comfortably tell you that, I mean, let's say about 60% of the youth who are unemployed will be able to engage one way or the other through government facilitated projects.
Okay, up to 60 to 65% of the Gambian population are youths, and we do see that over the years there's been a great encouragement for entrepreneurship, for youths to take up entrepreneurship roles. What have you been advising the president on youth entrepreneurship in the Gambia?
Well, that's why through these advices and discussion with the president, that the youth not only, I mean, what I believe is not only not everybody can work in government. There are different areas, different sectors that youth can be engaged, and they become, good citizens, and also they can be productive in society. Throughout the world, no government can provide enough for its citizens. I have not seen any government so far in the world that can tell you that I have provided enough for my citizens. What government can do is try, is an effort. And this government has demonstrated through this pronouncement of 2.8 million loan scheme to the youth, and also coupled with the building of mini stadiums, about 6 mini stadiums countrywide. These are efforts that I believe 60% of the youth, one way or the other, would be employed. Would benefit from it.
Okay, now what else would you want to share with the public on the 4 years of President Barrow's rule?
Well, His Excellency President Adama Barrow, what I can say is first, we congratulate him for at least successfully giving Gambians the freedom of press in this country. We all know where we came from,
yes,
and what we were thinking of. Today, thank God, because of His Excellency President Adama Barrow, we have achieved that. The press is free. Freedom of speech is available to every Gambian. Freedom of movement. Gambians today comfortably can live here, go to any region, any sub-region, to any country in the sub-region, can also travel abroad without hindrance. they can come back into this country without hindrance. That is an achievement, number one. Number two, look at the development process that the president is engaged in. If you look at Hakaland Road, that people have been complaining more than 50 years, and it was not addressed. His Excellency President Adama Barrow is able to, today, they are happy that the construction is on. The people of that area are very happy that they are going to have a better road network. Not only that, look at even, let's say the Trans-Gambia. Let's call a spade a spade. I know some people, critics might argue that it's not his project, but I would say no, it is his project. Because the reason why I would argue that, and I would comfortably say that it's His Excellency, it is President Barrow's project, is because this thing started from Sadauda Jawara, the initialization of this Trans-Gambia, building of this Trans-Gambia. But it never materialized.
Absolutely, that's true.
It came to Jammeh. After 30-something years of Jawara, it couldn't materialize. I am not blaming Jawara or PPP for anything, but what I'm saying is it didn't materialize. Jammeh came. I'm not saying Jammeh, I'm not going to say here Jammeh didn't do anything. Jammeh did what he was able to do. But what I'm saying is he was able to make sure that it becomes reality to build the Trans-Gambia. When His Excellency President Adama Barrow came, he said to the Gambians, listen, presidents come and go, leaders come and go, but the country stay. Therefore, whatever is due for the people of this country, I would sign and implement it immediately. And he contacted President Macky Sall. Macky Sall also was thinking in the same direction, that president comes and go, that he doesn't own Senegal. So they saw it necessary that this building, this bridge should be built. Today it is a reality. People can come from Farafenni, from Dutabulu, they go to Jara Soma, go and do shopping, go back to Farafenni. People can leave Farafenni, go to Jara Soma, go to Mansa Konko, go about their business. If you cannot pay a taxi, you can walk and go back to Farafenni. Is that not an achievement for the people of this country?
Absolutely. But before we end this interview, what should be the expectations of Gambians, particularly the youths, in this year as President Barrow marks his 4 year in office?
What I'm telling you is youth should expect that they are going to see so many projects. Right now with the lead initiatives of constructing these mini stadiums, and also other projects like the loan scheme, youths are going to benefit, and it is going to be a good plus for youth in this country. Let them be optimistic now. They are going to be comfortable here. We don't want them to suffer. This is their country. This President Barrow believes that he is here, but the youths are going to be the future leaders of this country. Therefore, they are going to be empowered and emboldened in this country.
Thank you very much for your time here on the news.
The President's Youth Advisor there talking by Ibrahim Cham on the progress registered in empowering Gambian youths. Now, moving on, the Ministry of Petroleum and Energy, in partnership with the United Nations Industrial Development Organization, have launched a nationwide awareness campaign and distribution of efficient cook stoves. Suma Jadama was there and he files in this report.
Open fire stove, which is described as a silent killer, is globally killing more people than malaria and tuberculosis, yet the public health concern is underreported. It is against this backdrop that the Ministry of Petroleum launched a national awareness campaign and distribution of cook stoves as an alternative strategy to mitigate the environmental challenge. The Petroleum and Energy Minister Fafa Sanyang addressed the launch ceremony in Bijilo.
Coupled with high dependency on the forest for energy, the Gambia faces high risk of ecological catastrophe if necessary countermeasures are not taken soon. There are a range of measures which the government, together with the development partners, are taking to address the rapid rate of loss of the country's forest cover, including reducing high dependency on the forest for energy, which is the overall goal of the nationwide campaign being launched today.
Sanyang maintained that the initiative is expected to reduce indiscriminate exploitation of the forest as well as the release of emission. In his digital statement, the United Nations Industrial Development Organization representative Christophe Vetot lauded the timeliness of the program, saying it will save lives and resources of Gambians who have been predominantly using fuel wood and other traditional biomass as energy. Lamin Kamara is the Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Petroleum.
Traditional biomass, that is fuel wood and charcoal, accounts for roughly 70% of our primary energy supply, roughly 80% of domestic energy consumption. Reducing the inefficient use of bioenergy resources through the adoption of energy-efficient cook stoves and alternative fuels such as briquettes is one of the pillars of the national energy policy of the Gambia. A number of important measures on promoting clean cooking has been undertaken by the ministry over the years. This includes the development and adoption of a national clean cooking action plan in 2015.
The nationwide campaign on the use of efficient energy and distribution of cook stoves starts tomorrow in Banjul. Suma W. Jadama reporting for GRTS.
Now, the Association of Non-Governmental Organizations has organized a 3-day capacity building on policy analysis, budgeting, and gender for civil society organizations and ward councillors in the Kanifing municipality. Aisha Tujata tells us more.
The project, jointly funded by Limited Nations Democratic Fund and Tango Democracy Project for Non-Governmental Organizations, as well as the Civil Society Organizations project, began in March 2019. The 2-year project, meant to strengthen human rights and good governance in the Gambia, is set to end in February 2021. Kajali Jane is the Deputy CEO of KMC. He had this to say.
The topic of the training, as highlighted by the chairman, is on policy analysis, budgeting, and gender. These are topics that are very apt, that people, the citizenry need to be equipped with. Because good governance and democracy are interlinked. I would say this training is very timely. We are looking forward to national elections. 2021 will be a very crucial year. So it is vital for citizens, people to be equipped on the norms and ethics of democracy and good governance.
According to officials, the training will go a long way towards enhancing the capacity of participants to effectively participate in public policy processes in holding the government to account.
We have a very able facilitator to take him to task. It's not a 10 per se, it's a kind of sensitization. It's a give and take. Let's make it very participatory. The facilitator is just to pave way for us, but the bulk of the sensitization or interaction should be facilitated by ourselves.
The program officer Tango Alaji Cham stated that the project seeks, amongst other things, to enhance the knowledge and skills of civil society organizations and the public on human rights issues through media and community outreach programs.
The whole project is about strengthening human rights and good governance in the Gambia. And if you want to strengthen human rights and good governance in the Gambia, if you talk of democracy, you have to look at human rights, rule of law. Okay, that is how you can strengthen democracy. You cannot talk of democracy without talking of human rights and rule of law, because it's the basis.
Mr. Cham further complimented the efforts of partners and other donor agents in the whole process.
If you have knowledge, you have information, it's power, and then that will bring peace and stability in this country. That's why this project came in, to sensitize the people on what is human rights, what is rule of law, what is how do you post this into policies? What are the policies that should strengthen these issues? Because policy and budgeting, they interact, and gender. You have because all we are talking about here, for budgeting, likewise, budgeting, the budget should be gender sensitive.
Aside from policy analysis and budgeting, participants were equally trained on gender issues to ensure efficient delivery of public services as well as promote gender equity. Participants are expected to share the lessons learned and as well put what they have learned into good practice. Aisatu Jata Gassama, GRTS.
And let's take a look at some legislative matters as the National Assembly's Select Committee on Trade, NEPAD Regional Integration embarked on a rapid price assessment of basic commodities within the Greater Banjul area. The move, officials say, was meant to obtain first-hand information on prices of essential commodities before developing an intelligence price control mechanism. Baba Silla went out with the lawmakers and he files in this report.
The Gambia is a free market which has no price control mechanism, and until then the vulnerable citizen will have to bear the burden of high prices of basic food commodities which are skyrocketing every day. The tour, which is led by the chairperson of the Select Committee on Trade, Mohammed Maharena, began at the Brikama market, where officials inspected various shops to have first-hand information about the price of basic food such as rice, sugar, cooking oil, among other condiments.
So when I come to the market, I was hoping that maybe I'll make the prices are going down, but I'm not impressed when the prices are going up. And we know that how to call it, our GDP per capita is very, very small. So if prices like basic commodity like rice, which is a staple food, is going up, which has increased from 1,150 to 1,300, definitely is scary. So that's why the committee take it upon themselves to make sure that we know the root cause of this problem so that we can address this once and for all.
Preservation of basic goods and standardization of basic consumable food items are crucial to healthy life. Mahmoud Ba is the Director General of Food Safety and Quality Control Authority, the body responsible for controlling the safety and quality of all foods in the country.
It is a useful exercise for the lawmakers, to come face to face with the realities on the ground. For us, we have our inspectors on the ground on a daily basis, so we know what obtains when it comes to the food safety and the food hygiene issues. As you can see, we've gone through the market, and they have seen for themselves. And at least we also highlighted some concerns, like food safety concerns, perhaps which they can also take up and advocate for, so that at least there would be some improvement in those areas. Also, they are also taking notes on some of the food challenges and the food safety challenges, so that also they can also inform us accordingly, and we will incorporate that into our inspections and follow-up inspections and checklists.
The delegation continued with the exercise with a visit to various local bakeries within the Carnifing Municipal before proceeding to Gad Tomato Processing Facility, where they had discussion with the CEO and other staff of the company. The CEO welcomed the committee, where he outlined some of the challenges the company is facing and what needs to be done to support the local-based company.
We face a lot of challenge until today. I cannot go back to all that's the challenge. That's why we decided to make phase one. Phase one to bring down to brand our products, let people know our products first, because that is also critical. If you do all together and then you don't succeed, you will be big fail, So that's why we make it, we bring jam. Gambia is a small market and then a small country. This kind of investment is, you have to be careful, because if you collapse, you have problems. So, but we start phase one. Phase one to bring jump to make our brand. Phase two is to, collaborate with local peoples who have 10 hectares, 5 hectares, 6 hectares, or more. We can make MOU with you. We need your product. We bring our training team, fertilizer, seed. We give you, we teach you how to do it.
Gambia is blessed with fertile land that can be utilized to produce basic food commodities such as rice, onion, among others, to reduce dependence on imported goods. For GRTS News, I am Baba Silla.
And let's stay with legislative matters because the Public Enterprise Committee of the National Assembly on Tuesday deferred the activity reports and financial statements of GAMCEL, and the Gambia International Airlines respectively. This, according to the chairman of the committee, Honorable Alifa Sala, is to enable the management of the two public institutions to go back and do the necessary adjustments. More in this report.
The The board and management of Gamtel Gamcel Tuesday appeared before members of the Public Enterprise Committee to present their financial statement and activity report of the year ended 31st December 2019. During a brief session, the top officials of the national telecommunication giants were asked by the lawmakers to go back and do some necessary adjustment and return to a later date.
Members have seen that it is good that we adjourn the scrutiny and invite all the stakeholders so that the key issues are discussed. And from that discussion, then we proceed with our scrutiny, and then we'll be able to make recommendations after that scrutiny that would be fit for purpose. That is really the objective of the adjournment.
Meanwhile, in a similar engagement, the National Assembly's Select Committee also deferred the financial statement and activity reports of the Gambia International Airlines to another date after doing the necessary adjustment as required by members of the Public Enterprise Select Committee.
The objective is to solve the problems and put them on the path of development and a path of contributing to the national revenue base and ensure that services are delivered. It is moved that we adjourn to enable GIA to submit a position paper on its challenges to the committee for consideration as part and parcel of the exercise of scrutinizing the activity report and financial statement of the institution for the year ended 31st December 2019. Those in favor say aye. Those not in favor say no. The ayes have it.
For GRTS News, this is Yero Jallo reporting.
Moving on, a training on horticultural production and agro-processing for 100 young Gambians is underway. The program, which is funded by the European Union, is being implemented by the Gambia Horticulture Enterprise, GHE, and partners with a view to creating more trade and employment opportunities. Ibrahim Jallo covered the opening ceremony and he files in this report.
Is it on?
Yes! Trade around horticulture and agro-processing is the objective of this training, targeting 100 young Gambians. Hadi MCC of the Gambia Horticultural Enterprise said this is an on-the-job training and that the content is very practical.
The aim of this training program is to build the skills, or in some cases enhance the existing skills and knowledge that some of the trainees have in agriculture. Basically, it's on-the-job, hands-on, highly practical training. So meaning we have tailored the content of the training to suit the specific need of the agro-food processing.
Business in this sector is said to be a crucial economic driver in the country. Horticultural production has been going on and in large scale in some parts of the country. However, little or no value additions are being applied to attract the international market and maximize income, hence this training. Officials say acquiring skills is central to achieving this goal.
If we want to be self-sufficient, food self-sufficient, we need to work very hard in the agricultural sector. And this is what prompted the government of the day, of the Gambia, and the stakeholders to come together and support the youths. So in supporting the youths, we need to build, we need to mold you with skills.
To enhance productivity, you need skills, skillful people that can help to do the job. And that's what we are out to do.
According to officials, the training in horticultural production lasts for 3 months, while the agro-processing goes for 2 months. Participants said they are grateful for the opportunity and will make best use of the training for better outcome.
We are acquiring skills that we term as it will be beneficial for us. The skill that I acquired here, I would like to utilize it and help the people of my region.
It's very important to me. That's why I'm motivated to come in. So that if I go to see other, I can improve my people to come to agriculture and develop themselves.
The program seeks to boost the country's trade potential in line with the government's agenda in ensuring sustainable socio-economic growth for national development. Ibrahim Jallo, GRTS News.
And that report by Ibrahim Jallo takes us to our first break. When we return, we look at news from outside the Gambia. Do stay tuned. with me, Uminjai, and now to the United States, where the country is marking Martin Luther King Day to honor the civil rights leader and his contribution to the fight for racial justice. In Washington, another part of the country, security is being stepped up ahead of Joe Biden's presidential inauguration on Wednesday. More in the CGTN report.
Took a break from his preparations for his inauguration by joining his Vice President-elect Kamala Harris and his wife Jill, the soon-to-be First Lady of the United States, to help in Philadelphia with a food charity, packing boxes of food for those in need, to mark and encouraged everyone to commemorate the day by having a day of service. President Donald Trump issued a proclamation where he encouraged all Americans to recommit themselves to Dr. King's dream by engaging in acts of service to others, to their community, and to the nation. But he also, on MLK Day, had the publication of something called the 1776 Report, which argued that the civil rights movement has effectively turned into identity politics, which he and supporters of his view as damaging. So again, a signal of, despite calls for unity, there's still much divisions present in America on this day, as MLK Day was being commemorated by many across the country. We know that around 25,000 National Guard troops are pouring into Washington, D.C. to help with security, to make sure that there is no further unrest of the kind that we saw on January the 6th. Around 750 active duty troops are also in position to help with security, many of them with specialist skills in security measures. We are seeing streets around the Capitol being barricaded, being blocked off from pedestrians and traffic. There's going to be searches of vehicles and security checkpoints at those locations. We've seen the Capitol is effectively a fortress, ring-fenced off by steel barricades. And, you know, it's an inauguration like no other, with security measures at an unprecedented high.
And let's head to Uganda, where the country is ramping up rapid testing following a surge in COVID-19 cases there. The country is closing in on 40,000 cases and has so far registered more than 300 virus-related deaths. The rapid diagnostic test has been approved by the World Health Organization. More in the CGTN report.
Uganda's health ministry says rolling out rapid test kits will increase the number of people being screened for COVID-19. The move will help isolate infected people and their contacts in order to reduce exposure and break transmission.
We already reached the stage 4. We have community transmission. Many people are infected, but we don't know them. Many are asymptomatic. Actually, those who are reporting is an underestimate because we don't test everyone.
The health ministry is now deploying antigen rapid diagnostic testing kits to ease treatment.
We have now 2 kits that we have recommended to be given in a phased-out manner. The one is called the SD biosensor, made in South Korea, and another one is by Abbott. And we have said this should be used in a phased manner in those individuals who are symptomatic, to allow quick decision-making.
The antigen rapid diagnostic testing kits are being deployed to high-risk areas in the country. Health workers are targeting patients with symptoms of COVID-19, frontline health workers, and people in crowded places such as schools and prisons. The Ugandan government is also in the process of procuring vaccines. The jabs are expected to be available in 2 months.
AstraZeneca, initial phase, because initial phase we hadn't mobilized resources, and Gavi is going to give us the first initial 20%. The subsequent government is supposed to mobilize resources on our own, and we are looking at also procuring from China, provided that that process is complete.
It's hoped that these interventions by the health ministry could help contain the spread of the virus. Hilary Isga, CGTN, Kampala, Uganda.
Now, South African President Cyril Ramaphosa says he will step down should he be charged with corruption. Ramaphosa was responding to accusations by former Eskom CEO Brian Molefe. Eskom is South Africa's electricity public utility company, and the former CEO testified at the Judicial Commission of Inquiry into state capture that Ramaphosa was involved in the regular awarding of contracts to Eskom during his time as deputy president. CGTN's Yolisa Njamela has more in this report.
The Judicial Commission of Inquiry into allegations of state capture is a public inquiry launched by the government to investigate allegations of state capture, corruption, fraud, and other allegations in the public sector, including organs of state. A few days ago, former Eskom CEO Brian Molefe told the commission that President Cyril Ramaphosa had a conflict of interest when he, in his then role as deputy president, was appointed chairperson of Eskom's war room. At the time, Molefe alleges Ramaphosa was still a shareholder at Glencore, an Eskom contractor. Molefe also says Ramaphosa is to blame for the current bouts of load shedding. South Africa has been experiencing rolling power cuts known as load shedding by the struggling power utility Eskom for years. In an interview with the local station, the president denied the allegations, saying he will testify at the State Commission and clarify this.
When I was appointed President of the Republic, Deputy President of the Republic, I immediately wrote a letter to President Zuma and said I would like to regularize my business holdings. In the end, it led to selling out, exiting many of the business positions that I had at the time through the Shanduka company that I had formed. And I kept to that. I did exit those business dealings, and I am going to be able to explain in full and in detail when I appear before the Zondo Commission.
Ramaphosa further undertook to step down from his position should he be charged with corruption.
If I'm charged with corruption, my own orientation is that yes.
It's not the first time that such allegations against the president have surfaced. Two major opposition political parties have in the past also leveled the same allegations in parliament.
And I think it is important to remember that these allegations have been made by his own colleagues in parliament. What has been lacking, and which maybe Brian is trying to do, is to put them before a tribunal. And the tribunal, which is headed by Deputy Chief Justice Zondo, has got to make a decision how they want to investigate these claims.
It is for the president to seek advice on how he is going to approach and probably respond well to these allegations. I mean, they are firm, as I have indicated. Brian understands corporate laws, and regardless of probably whatever is happening as well, that is at state capture. But at the same time, the president just have to go and clarify the nation.
It's still unclear when the president will appear at the State Capture Commission. Yolisa Njamela for CGTN in Johannesburg, South Africa.
And that's the news from Banjul. But before we go, a quick look at our top stories once again. It has been 4 years since President Barrow became the Gambia's third president. Grts has been looking back at the advancement made in the youth and sports sector under the Barrow administration. Energy Ministry has launched a nationwide awareness on green cooking devices through the use of energy-efficient cook stoves. Lawmakers have been touring marketplaces and production facilities to assess a cost of basic commodities in the local markets. And in the internationals, US is bracing up for the historic inauguration of Joe Biden as president, ending Donald Trump's reign. Well, that was all in this edition of the GRTS Weekday News. We thank you for watching and stay safe. Bye for now.
As the Gambia